We are live and everything is going good. All right. Welcome, everyone. This is Dr. Herbert Harris, and this is another edition of Success Talk. And this is our program where we are interviewing people who have they're successful, but they've also had challenges in their lives. They've overcome their challenges and they have had some of their greatest victories. So tonight we're talking with Frank Marshall, a young man, and I mean a young man from Atlanta, Georgia, who's been doing incredible things with young people. Frank's been an entrepreneur and doing so many things. So Frank will tell you a little more about himself, but welcome, Frank, to Success Talk.
Thank you, Doc. Thanks for having me.
Well, man, I appreciate the work you've been doing with the young people and, the time we spent together down in Atlanta, you as an entrepreneur and seeing your business. And I said, when we started the program, I said, now that's someone I got to get Frank on the program. So, Frank, just tell us a little about your background, where you came from, and just sort of how you got where you are, how you became Frank Marshall.
well, there's a little something about me, Doc. I grew up in a little old small place called Powder Spring. We used to call it P-Town.
Uh-huh.
That's about, I guess, probably about 15 miles below Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
And I grew up very poor, Doc, very poor. I grew up in the era, in the time that we used to go barefoot. A lot of times we went barefoot because we wanted to, and sometimes we went barefoot just because we didn't have any shoes. But it was okay during those times. No one looked down upon you because pretty much everybody went barefoot during those times and all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was, like I said, I had to go to bed sometime hungry, not having enough to eat, whatever, and sometimes all we had to eat was buttermilk and cornbread. And that's all we had sometime. And it was good too, Doc.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Can you
now
lean up a little bit, Frank? Can you lean up a little bit? Yeah, just lean
sure.
forward a little bit. Yeah, so we get a better. Yeah, now that's good. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And I made a vow, Doc, to God when I was a little boy. I said, Doc, if you bless me and put me in a position to be able to help your people, I'll never look down on them unless I'm complimenting them on their shoes. That's the
All
only way I'm
right.
gonna look down on a person. And I promised myself, and I said then, I said, I'm not going to be poor all my life because I knew, Doc, it was more to life than what I was experiencing. Being
Mm.
poor is no fun.
Mm.
It's
I
no
got
fun.
you.
Being
Yeah.
poor to have you to the degree where you don't even believe in yourself because you don't believe and you don't see what's possible. And so that's why I'm reminded of something that Bill Gates said, Doc. Bill Gates said when we were born, we don't have no control over whether or not we were born poor, but we do have something to do with it whether or not we die poor.
Mm.
So I make sure that I'm not going to die poor. And so
Wow.
I went to work on myself and everything. And this way I am today. And I know, like I say, and I grew up poor and I knew it more to life than what I was experiencing. So and I wanted to be able to help other young people go through some things that didn't have anyone in their life, like I didn't have anyone to really talk to me about personal development, how important that was. I didn't have that growing up. And so what
Mm.
I didn't have, I was going to make sure that I give it to someone, to give someone the things that I didn't have that was much needed. And so
Wow.
that's why I do. I guess that's what makes me Frank Marshall. Because I'm doing the things, because I'm doing what I love, Doc. I love impacting and pouring into people. I love it.
Wow. Well, Frank, that is so noble, man. And that's what's necessary because so many of our young people don't have anybody to tell them, to show them. If you don't have somebody to show you the way, then there's no telling where you're going to go in your life. So that's such a good mission. Now,
Yes.
now when we were together in Atlanta, you're an entrepreneur. Now, how did you go from being poor to having your own business?
Because just like I said, Doc, I stated earlier, I knew it was more to life than what I was experiencing. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and I knew if in order for me to get from point A to point B, I have to go after my desire. And that was the desire that I had, not to be poor. That was a desire of mine. And so, and I knew I had to do something different. I can't continue doing the things that I was seeing. I had to move away from certain things, start doing things different, and get around people that doing great things. Because the best advice I ever had in my life, Doc, was to surround myself with people like yourself, around people that doing great things. Why? Because of the rub off on you. And so that's how I went from that to being an entrepreneur. Because like I said, because I know when nobody going to give me nothing, that I had to do it myself. Because I want more. I wanted more.
Right.
I had
Right.
desires I had to fulfill.
Yeah. Now, what type of business did you have, Frank?
I have a cleaning business.
Uh-huh.
Janitorial.
Yeah.
Been
Is it-
up and running now about 22 years.
Wow. Yeah. And so you have to go on and generate and get those contracts, right?
Correct. Correct.
Wow. So now from the entrepreneur business, you got involved with young people. And what motivated you to really take such a profound interest in young people?
Well, because I said, like I say, I grew up very poor. And, like when you're poor, you're being looked over. You look down upon as a nobody. Because I know then people looked over me as being poor, but, and I know I was just as important than they were. But I didn't have the funds and everything to do the things that I really want to do. And so that's why I say I promised God that you put me in a position to be able to help people. I would never look down on letting I come in on shoes. So that's what made me want to give back. Because, that's how you grow, sowing seed. Because
Yeah.
those young people, they need us, man. I just want to just like I said, shine some light on people, let the young people know that it's more to life than what they're experiencing. I made it out, and so can you, because I don't have no education. I don't have all these plats and things on the wall, whatever. I'm more self-educated than anything. I didn't go to no college.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I didn't even graduate from high school. But
Uh-huh.
so now I got involved in young people, let them know just because you doesn't go to college, that doesn't mean that you can't be successful. The main thing, you have to know what it is that you want and go after that. Make a movie of the mind. See yourself doing those things, whatever that you want to do, and go after it. Take action on it. Be an action deal, And so that's what made me want to give back to young people. Because like I said, I made it, so can they. God wants us to be other-centered, not self-centered. That's what the problem. We got too many self-centered peoples in the world.
Now, in working with young people, was there any one person, sometimes you meet that one person and you have to go the extra mile with them, but you see the fruits of your labor. Was there any one person or one young person or a couple who you really could see that need, that hunger they had?
Yes, sir. I got one guy, he's in the military now. There's one particular guy, he was a young guy, he was married, but he was struggling real bad. Really wasn't stable, going from one place to another place, no stability pretty much. And so every day when I pick him up and I drop him off at home, he would always ask me, Mr. Frank, will you pray with me? And so now I always pray with him and this and that, man, and talk to him about life and all. And so, and he asked me one day, what did I think about military? His wife wanted him to go into the military. And I said, well, if that's a way out, military, it helps a lot of people. So then I talked to him about it and I said, you interested in going into the military? I have a guy that part of my team, that he's a lieutenant in the military. So I hooked him up with this guy and everything. And so he worked with the guy and he had a lot of things on his record. So he got those things that spun for him and he got him into the military and he's doing some outstanding things right now. He's been in the military now, I guess, for about 6 years and he's doing outstanding. He'll tell me, Mr. Frank, one for you, I'll probably be dead or sleeping up on the bridge. I wouldn't be married. I know I probably wouldn't even be in my kids' life. He said, it had not been for you. He said, I appreciate you. So that's really stands out right there. So he really, that was a much needed, impactful.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Frank, when you're working with young people, man, I guess you have to have a lot of patience.
Yes.
And you have a team helping you?
Yes, sir.
Tell a little about your team.
Yeah, we got some great guys, man. Like we put, because, like anytime when you're building something, you need an inner circle. You need people that are going to complement your gift. You know, you need people that are going to be loyalty, integrity, and you need people that are going to be creative and such as that. And so I have some of those people that's in my team, on my team and everything. And so we just come together, man, and just impact the young people. And so,
wow. Yeah.
So that's what you call the inner circle group.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, when I was in Atlanta, you do those conferences too. And I tell you, I was on a call today with Dr. George Frazier.
Okay.
And I know you spoke highly of him, and you all did some work together, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Now, you had those conferences. Why was that important? How'd you get people to come down and speak to your kids and have them be a part of it?
Just ask them, just ask them. If they see the value in it, because that's the problem. Like a lot of time, people look at people that doing great things, they put people over them. So you don't ever put no one over you. I don't care what they're doing. Don't ever demise yourself. Don't ever put nobody over you. You just ask them, go up to them and ask them and strike up a conversation. If they like what you're doing, they see value in what you're doing, they'll embrace it. Just like my bishop, my pastor, Bishop Brown, he came to my event and spoke. He said, people asked him, how did he wind up at my event? He said, because he said, he very persistent. He said, before I take events, sometimes he said, I watch people. He said, and Uncle Frank was very consistent in what he was doing. He watched that. And that's the key to it.
See, now you just touched on a point, Frank, that's real heavy, man. So many times, you never know who's watching you.
Yes, absolutely. I was shocked when he said that.
Yeah. But that tells you to live a life of example. I think when people see a person like you, Frank, they don't judge you by your education. They don't judge you by your experience, but I think they judge you from the heart. They see a person who's dedicated and who's trying to make a difference. And I think that's what attracts people to you. Because you've had some heavy duty people speaking at your conferences, man. Yeah.
I done had Mike V. Roberts. I done had Dr. George Frazier. I had Dennis Kimbrough. I had Chico Cool. And I had Jerry Clark.
Okay. Yeah.
And various people of that. And who else? I had Andrew Morrison. I don't know if you know Andrew Morrison.
Sure.
But I had Dr. Harrison, Dr. Breakthrough. I had him.
Yeah.
I had Dr. Marvin Golden.
Yeah. See, now I think people see the value in what you're doing and see a person who's on the front lines. Like when you live by an example, then people notice it. They see authenticity. I think, sometimes, Frank, a lot of people use degrees and medals and plaques to say they're all right, and then there are other people who live there all right, Yeah. So, Frank, I know you've had a number of challenges coming in this long journey, but can you think of one or two major challenges, things that really, they say like David and Goliath, those kind of moments where they almost take you to your knees, man, and say, man, good Lord, you call on the Lord Jesus and all the saints. You ever have one of those kind of moments that kind of obstacle in your life, and how did you overcome it?
Yes, Doc. I had quite a few of those. I remember when I first came into business, when I first started my business, like when you first start a business and, you buying material and all this and that, you have to have enough money to sustain you until the money start rolling in, because, you're putting net 30 on your invoices, but they don't always go by that. Because, net 30 means you pay me within 30 days because I'm a small business. And, but they don't always honor that. And so, money and stuff study going out, but not coming in. And there come at one point in time, I didn't have no money to make payroll. And that just pretty much knocked me to my knee. And so I had to really do some maneuvering because I wanted my people to get paid, because that's embarrassing. It was embarrassing. I'm doing a lot of work. I'm all over the place doing a lot of work and everything, but everything was going out, but nothing coming in. I had enough to sustain and pay my people for about 3 to 4 weeks, and I paid them because I had like about 19 people on payroll. so, and
Wow.
so,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so the money started running out. And then the first time it really got me second time, money started rolling in because I was paying them like every 2 weeks. It started
Uh-huh.
and that kind of scary. Then the next thing that really knocked me to my knee when my son went to prison,
Mm.
that really, really, really hurt. I'm doing everything I can because that's why I really started my business so I can be able to leave a legacy my son can take over, because no one ever left nothing to me. So that was my goal, to be able to leave a legacy for my son to take over and take this business to a greater height. And he went to
Mm-hmm.
prison, and that's laid on the floor and wall and slept pretty much about all night. It hurt so hard because they gave him some hectic years, man. Matter of fact, I went and seen him today. And the one in the biggie, just a few, I'm gonna stop at this one. The
Mm-hmm.
woman I lost my wife, that
Mm.
that was huge, dog. And I still have a problem about 2 weeks ago with 4 years, about 2 weeks ago. And
Mm.
that was a biggie. But what kept me through that, like say prayer. Because God told us he would never leave you nor forsake you. He said, behold, when you hear that word, behold, that means to take notice and keep going, letting you know that he's there for you. And so
Mm.
that was the biggest. So prayer got me through that. The believing,
Wow.
you got to believe in prayer. You got to believe in
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah.
So that's what got me through, Doc.
Well, I tell you, Frank, you just said you went to see your son. I practice law, and sometimes it would hurt me when people would have children in jail, and seemed like when they went to jail, everybody cut them off.
Exactly. Right. I seen that.
Yeah.
I would
And
never do that. Cause what to say when a child seems like they least deserve your love, that's when they need it the most.
ooh, now that's a drop the mic. Need to say that again, Frank.
So when a child seems that they least deserve your love, that's when they need it the most.
Wow. Yeah. And I bet that has helped him through that stay in prison.
Absolutely.
Mm, mm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lesson for people because we deal with a lot of prison groups now. A lot of them buy the book for young men, and we get letters from them. And I think one of the key things that seems to be most important is to have that family connection, man. And
Mm-hmm.
so often, a lot of prisons don't have that. A lot of people don't have that. And I really salute you, man, for hanging close with him.
Thank you, Doc.
Man.
Let me interject right there just for a second. So that's one of the things that we're going to be doing next month, Doc. October, the whole month to October, it's going to be dedicated to family on our Monday night Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be dedicated to family. The whole month of October, every Monday night, we're going to be talking about the importance of family because family is
Mm.
very important. So we got to get family back together. That's where our strength is, man. That's the reason our kids in so disarray because there's no connection with their family, man.
Okay. Wow. That's strong, man. That's strong.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you and I go back. I think when I was in Atlanta one time promoting the book, and I know you've used the book and brought it into your organization. When did you first encounter the 12 Universal Laws of Success?
When did I first? I think when I first saw you here in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think I got a copy from you then, and I
Uh-huh.
started it and looking at it, man, it was so powerful and everything. It really helps me with my purpose and everything.
Yeah.
How you were talking about purpose and all this and that. It really helped me define myself. It's an outstanding book, and I has it. I keep it close by.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, I keep
Yeah.
it close by, and I recommend anyone that's out there that doesn't have that book, to get it. You know, so
Now,
it tells you how to develop your purpose. It talks about, that was really, really impactful. How to develop your purpose. Say, am I the person I really, really want to be? It gives you something to think about. You look
uh-huh.
at yourself like that. And am I living a meaningful life? It helped me to look at my life back on my life. Am I really living a meaningful life? am I? Because
Yeah.
that's what we're supposed to do, is live a meaningful life. We don't just go through life, we should grow through life. Every day you should be growing, and
Yeah.
impacting other people's lives. Because like I said earlier, you not to go through life being self-centered, you go through life being other-centered. You do what you can to try to uplift and bring other people along, because this way life's supposed to be lived, just like this. Someone pulling you as you pulling somebody.
Somebody else. Wow.
That's the way life is. So
Yeah.
you're living a meaningful life when you're doing that.
So that chapter on purpose, that really impacted you. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because we were all put here on purpose, for purpose, and with purpose. But so many people don't understand that. They don't know what their purpose are. I tell them all the time, Doc, it's okay to not know your purpose, but just don't not know all your life.
So you got to start looking for that thing, try to figure it out. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Was there any other section that you found real helpful?
Well, pretty much the whole book itself, were very helpful. I can't just go with just that one or this and that, but pretty much the whole book was pretty much impactful, Doc, because it's an excellent book. It helps you to, it teaches you how to go through things. It teaches you to realize, open your mind up, that everything is a process. You have to go through a process to get to progress.
All right.
So it really helped me open my minds up, because that's what everything is. It's a process. You have to go through a process to get to progress. And, you can't be so quick to give up. And I love the illustration that you used one time. Like you want to get with someone that knows where they're going, just like yourself. You knows where you're going. You want to follow someone like you, that 12 laws of success. But that's huge. I remember I heard you say one time, Doc, he said, if you was in the desert, you want to follow the man that know where the water hose are. With me.
Yeah.
It's so profound. That's the way life is. You want to follow someone that knows where they're going. And so these 12 laws of success, it shows that you knows where you're going.
Wow. I tell you something, man. That's some powerful stuff. Well, Frank, I tell you, we're kind of getting toward the end, but I just have to take my hat off to you, man, because I've seen, a lot of people start stuff. A lot of people start stuff. But over the many years I've known you, you've been consistent. You've hung in there, and you've been the glue that kept that whole thing together. Like you'd say, Uncle Frank, you everybody's uncle. Yeah. Well, what made you hang in there like that? What was it that kept driving you? Because I know there was some disappointments in even working with the young people.
It's the love that I have for people. Because, in this life we live, I ask the question a lot of times, Doc. I say, in this life which we live, will you get disappointed sometime? Absolutely, you're going to get disappointed. But if you doesn't allow your disappointment to turn into a discouragement, you'll never be defeated. Because that's why so many people, they don't move forward, because they don't have no stick to them. You got to have stickability, Doc. You got to have stickability. You got to quit monkey minding. Too many people monkey mind, just like you were saying. They don't stick to that. They monkey mind. They start something. If they don't get the result they think they should be getting within a day or 2 weeks or whatever, they'll stop and jump over here and start something else. When they don't get the result within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month, or whatever, they'll stop and start doing something else. They just monkey mind. They all over the place. There's no stability. They don't stick to it long enough. You got to have stick-to-ness.
But man, you know what, Frank? I'm taking notes on you, brother. You said, don't let disappointment lead to what?
Turn into a discouragement. If you don't let disappointment turn to discouragement, you'll never be defeated.
You'll never be defeated.
That's when you get defeated. You get disappointed, then you get so discouraged, then you just throw your hands up and say, "What the use?" That's when you're defeated. You throw your hand up when you give up, because you always got to be strengthening your bounce back muscle. We all got a bounce back muscle in it. We got to strengthen that bounce back muscle. You got to have doing this, Doc. That's the bottom line. You got to have this stick to it. You got to have a sense of discipline. When you're going after something, you got to have a sense of discipline. Because without discipline, it's not going to happen.
You know
So
what, Frank? You teaching, brother. Yeah, you teaching. When they give a concert and somebody says something profound like that, they say drop the mic. In church, they say take up a collection on that one, brother. Man, that's the bounce back muscle. You heard of the neck muscle, the arm muscle, the shoulder muscle, but you got to have a bounce back
that's
muscle.
right. You got to have a bounce back muscle, man. Just
Woo!
like with that Willie Jolly
Uh,
say, your setback is a setup for a comeback. So you got to bounce
woo!
back going, man.
All right now. I tell you, Frank, let me tell you something. You go beyond degrees, brother. You go
Mm,
beyond degrees to truth. See,
mm,
everybody's trying to get to the truth. Some people have to go to school. There are people who have more degrees than a thermometer,
yes.
and they
Say that.
still don't know the truth. Okay. Well, Frank, I tell you, man, is there any one last thought you'd like to leave with our listeners? Because you dropped some bombs today, man. You got enough pearls out here in the field. They're going to listen to this broadcast over and over and go like, wait a minute. You know how you listen? They go, what did he say? What did he say? Back that thing up, Yeah. So any final words of wisdom, Frank?
Well, I would just like to say, man, whatever you put your hand to, just keep going. Like there are three things I would like to leave with them, Doc. There are three things that stop people from really moving forward. There are three things. It's more than that, really. But I'm just gonna expound on those three. Three things stop people from moving forward. You can accomplish anything if you just learn how to deal with these three things.
Uh-huh.
Number one is fear. You fear, because we all realize and we all know fear is a strong enemy. It's a strong
Mhm.
enemy, Doc, but it's a
Yes.
weakling compared to the power that we have over it. But we have to recognize we have the power over it. Otherwise, it would get us. So we got to be able to conquer fear. And
Mhm.
then number two, we got to be able to deal with procrastination.
Mm.
Like a lot of times, like we feel things and then we feel things and we start procrastinating because we're scared to move forward.
Mm.
And then reason that is we're scared to move forward because we don't have enough clarity on what it is that we want. We don't have clarity. But if
Mm.
you got to learn to continue keep going in the midst of fear. So
Mm.
I'm gonna make it quick because I know we got to go. And
No,
then
that's okay. That's okay. Preach on, brother.
and then number three is excuse itis.
Mhm.
We make up excuses about things. Reason we can't do this. I'm not educated enough. I don't know the right people. I was born on the wrong side of the track. So and so didn't do this. I didn't have no daddy in my life. This, that. You still don't have no daddy in your life. You're gonna continue to dwell on that the rest of your life.
Mm.
There'll come a point in time you got to come to the realization that my life is dependent upon me. It's up to me. It's up to me. And we go from there. So I'm gonna stop right. I can go on and on, but I'm gonna stop right there. I'm gonna say I'm gonna stop, but I'm not finished.
Ooh, well, Frank, let me tell you something, man. You have laid some very profound thoughts,
Mm,
and not just thoughts, but lifestyle. You
mm,
know, the one thing
thank
I've observed about you, there are people who talk the walk,
you.
but
Mhm,
then there are people who walk the walk.
mm. Yes,
And and then there are people who run the walk. That's you.
I appreciate that, Doc.
you
Thank
run
you.
you run the walk, man. And I just want to thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you for all the work that you do. And I want to share this with some people, man, who I think need to hear it. This whole idea that we're working on now is that stories
Mhm,
heal people. And when you hear another man's story, like as you were just sharing, you say, well, look, I grew up poor. I didn't go to college. That all of these things, and a lot of people will accept that, as you say, as an excuse.
mhm.
Okay. You see? But if anything you accept as an excuse becomes a prison,
Wait, come on, Doc.
that's it. And so when you accept excuses, it becomes the prison of your limitations.
Mhm,
If David had not had courage and clarity, he would have been the slave of Goliath, but he would have been dead because Goliath would have killed him.
yes.
He didn't make any excuse. Now, he had a bunch of excuses. I'm a young shepherd boy. I don't have any military training. That guy's bigger than me. I mean, he go through the whole line. He got enough excuses. Reverend Ike used to say, the better the excuse, the worse it is.
I like that. The better excuse, the worse
The
it is.
worse it is.
All excuses does just keep you nailed to your problem.
That's it. That's it. Then you say excuses nail you to the problem. I love it, man. Yes.
Keep you nailed to your problem.
And so when a person can hear, when we're going to have a lot of people going to hear this, and they're going to say, now this man had every excuse in the book, but yet he flew. Yet he rose. Maya Angelou said, in spite of all things, I rise. And yet he was able to live a life without excuses, able to overcome procrastination, to do things important to other people. And I think I keep hearing that in you, doing things important to other people. It's not about ego, it's about we go.
Yeah, and come on now, that's right. It ain't about we go, it's about ego. Like I say, I'm gonna say this: the first step, Doc, to living wealthy is to shrink your ego.
Woo, okay. Shrink it, bring it down. Well, the ego will work against you in so many ways because the ego disconnects you from your source.
Mm-hmm.
God is doing all the miracles and the ego is trying to take credit for it.
Come on now. Yeah.
Okay. So when you see that happening, man, that's what that ego does. Here, God has brought you through the fire, brought you out of the far country. I was at a talk today, and sometimes you said something very powerful about the people you're with. Like you said, associate with people who've been where you want to go, who know more, who've had more, so that you can understand that. And I was talking today, and the fellow said, man, he said, we were talking about the prodigal son. And said, man, listen, he said, the prodigal son was in the pig pen of life. He said, the prodigal son had forgotten who he was.
Mm-hmm.
He said, but the pigs knew who he was. He said, the pigs told him, get out of here. The pigs told the prodigal son, you don't belong here. This is where we reside, man. Go back where you came from. Go back to your father. Go back to your source.
Wow.
And so,
I love it.
So many times, man, we people can see us, even we can't see ourselves.
That's a fight, Doc.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you've been working in the vineyards, man, doing a great job. And I salute you, Frank. I thank you, man. I thank you for this interview, this sharing. And anytime, man, I think we're gonna have to do some more of these because you got some wisdom and some insight, man, that rolls out. And it's that type of, it's what we call an authentic insight. It's not nothing it's not anything you have to memorize. It's like, I do this, I live this. Woo! All right, Frank. Take care, my friend.
A long time ago, Doc. I'd rather be hated for who I am than to be loved for who I'm not.
It's a drop the mic, gave up a collection. I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I am not.
Absolutely.
And on those words, we'll close this broadcast. We'll say, because when you can be loved for who you are, when you can be loved for the value you bring to life,
my Lord,
when you can be loved for the people you help,
yes,
you can say, Lord, I can be anything I want to be. I can do anything I want to do. I can have anything I want to have, knowing that you will guide me.
Glory. Yes, Lord.
So that the best is yet to come.
Yes, my Lord. Glory. Love you, Doc. I appreciate
you. Thank you, folks. Those of you who are enjoying today this broadcast, let me share this with you. This is one to listen to over and over. And there's somebody who needs to hear Frank Marshall. There's somebody you need to know that need to hear his story so his story can be a blessing and help heal him. This is Dr. Herbert Harris saying, once again, success talk. to help you get clarity about your purpose, your
Yes.
role, and your destiny in life. Always knowing that the best is yet to come.